They're kind of far. I might have to get myself a new. I'm getting everything black on both sides this time. I should have done it the same way, shouldn't have I? Here, we'll turn it that way for the camera's sake. Maybe the camera can still see it through there. You think so? All right. And do you remember what our what this was? What's that a picture of on there?
A shell?
It's a shell to remind us of our baptism. And baptism is a time when we grow close to God. And when God says, "You are my child." And tonight we're going to talk about the Lord's Prayer because we want to be able to talk with God. When God says, "You're my child," we definitely want to say, "Oh, and you're my Father, you're my God." So, tonight I picked up this book called The Lord's Prayer. And it has some beautiful illustrations. Nancy might want to go to the other side so she can see the illustrations in it. All right? And this is about how a grandfather and his granddaughter help other people out. And we read the Lord's Prayer together. Slide, put this up here. Okay. All right. So this is the city that they live in. And it says, "Our Father in heaven." And this is the little girl, and this is her grandfather. All right?
He has a grandfather. We've met him.
Yeah. "Hallowed be your name." All right? And so they're getting into their truck, and you see the name on the side of the truck? And when we say, "Hallowed be your name," we're saying that's something very special. And we wouldn't want anybody to draw pictures or anything over it or to make it not good, would we? No. And so we're saying God's name is special, and we're going to take special care of God's name too. Then we go on to the next. And they're going into, what is that? Can you tell what that picture is?
I think they're going into the flower store.
The flower store, yep, and the hardware store, they go into both there. All right? And they're getting, what are they picking up over here?
I think they're picking up bread.
They're getting some bread and maybe some lunch, huh? Okay. And here's a picture. Who's this in this picture? Who is that? Do you have any idea? It's a lady. What's she doing?
I think she's looking outside.
Yeah, what's her fence look like out there?
I don't know what that is.
Can you see out here where she's looking out her window? Can you look real carefully because it's kind of shadowed? Is her fence really nice and pretty, or is it kind of run down and raggedy?
I think it's run down and raggedy.
Yeah, exactly. So, and here we're praying, "Your kingdom come." And we wouldn't want God's kingdom to look run down and raggedy, would we? No. All right. "Your will be done," meaning that we want God's, whatever God wants, that's what we want to do, right? Okay. And here, what are flying around over here in the sky?
Birds.
Birds. And I think these are doves. We remember that God's with us when we see doves. And so that represents God, that God's watching over all of the city. All right? And here comes that lady who was looking at her rundown fence. And here comes the grandfather and the daughter. Yeah. "On earth as it is in heaven." What do you think they have this wood for, and a rake, and they've got on their work gloves? What do you think they might be doing?
I think they're coming to see her.
They're coming to see her. Yep. And it looks like they're getting ready to work, doesn't it? Yeah. Let's see what they do next. Oh, look at that. What's he doing over here?
He's working.
He's working. He's repairing the fence, isn't he? Yeah. And the little girl, what's she doing in that picture?
Painting right there.
Uh-huh.
And she's raking the leaves.
Yep. So she's helping out too, isn't she? Yeah. And here she is again. What's this in her hand down here at the bottom?
I think it is an egg.
An egg of some sort? We'll see, huh?
I call that.
It does kind of look like an egg in that picture, doesn't it? Well, let's see what it ends up being. All right. So, here they are, and they're all sitting, and guess what? Remember that bread they bought? They're having sandwiches now, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so give us this day our daily bread, and that's what they did. That's what they did with their bread. And here, those birds are with God again. Remember how God's always with us?
Mm-hmm.
That's what that represents.
Because they're feeding the birds too.
Yeah, it sure is. I hadn't noticed that part yet.
It might be ducks.
All
One
right.
day I want to let them have my bread.
All right, so here we can see a little bit easier what that's a picture of. It's almost like a medallion, isn't it? Because it's got a little loop in it. Do you see that loop? Or maybe a stopwatch that you string a cord through?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so here the lady's trying to pay the man, isn't she? And he says, no, I'm just going to do that for you. I want to do it as a gift. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And here it says, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. That means if we owe somebody something, or if somebody owes us something, we say, no, you don't owe us. That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's what forgive us our debts means. Okay? But this little girl, and it says, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. And here she is. She's still got her emblem over there, doesn't she?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think she ever told that lady about it?
I don't know.
I don't think she did. I think she found it on the ground and kind of kept it hidden so that the lady didn't know she had it. Well, let's see what happens, because I think she's looking at it, but look at that expression on her face. She's kind of like, oh, I might not have done something right. You ever have that feeling? Like, oh, I think I should have done something different?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the look she has, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, look at this. She goes back and she gives it back to the lady. Wasn't that a good idea, since it was probably the lady's? And what's she doing? You remember how it had that little loop in it to put a cord or a chain through?
Mm-hmm.
That lady's putting that chain through, isn't she?
Mm-hmm.
All right. And what's the grandfather's face look like? Is he kind of looking at his granddaughter going, you shouldn't have withheld that to start with?
Right.
Yeah. All right. So he's kind of looking at her like, you didn't do that right, but I'm glad you gave it back. And then it says, for yours is the kingdom and the power and the glory. And look at what she did.
She put it on her neck.
She did, and she gave her a necklace, didn't she?
Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful too. So it turned out that it worked out okay, and it seems like the lady forgave her, didn't it? Since she gave it back to her forever.
Mm-hmm.
And are you able to read what that says?
No.
It says the Lord's Prayer on it. It has all of the words for the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. It was just like what we read in the book, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So this book kind of taught us a way to live out the Lord's Prayer and helping God's kingdom to come.
Come on in, Susan. You want to sit over here out of the sun?